The city behind me has got a couple of things going for it that are really good. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's one of the great tourism destinations of the world. And until recently, one of the cheapest places in the world to go to. At $17.50, $17.60 to the pound, it's becoming a little bit more expensive for global travelers. But still, extraordinary value to be had for international travelers coming to South Africa. Entrepreneur Nicky van der Walt is developing properties at a rate of knots. He is the guy who owns Shimmy Beach Club. He's recently opened the Ritz, which is an elaborate hotel in Cape Town. He also owns the Bloemendal wine estate. It's not all just his, though. He's got some investors. But for a young guy, developing quite an interesting portfolio of tourism assets. I mean, this stuff's in your blood. It's what you've always wanted to do. You've had to do other stuff to build up to this point, but it's coming at quite a high rate.
Well, when I decided to get back into the hospitality game, I said we've got to come back and make a bang. And just to quantify, we've got a hospitality management company, so not all the assets, assets we own.
I got you.
I wish I owned the assets. We've got a hospitality management company, so we take up management contracts. For argument's sake, the Ritz, we've got a 20-year contract.
In the same way as a Radisson, for example, doesn't pay for the bricks and mortar, it becomes the tenant and the brand holder of the property.
The long-term business thesis, obviously, is to establish the cash flows, and ideally we'd like to add a land co to the manco. But for now, it's just a manco. So we've taken over management contracts.
Small steps, Nicky. You can't
We've
have
got big dreams. Shoot for the stars.
but your background is in restaurants. As a youngster, you were in Primi Piatti at one stage. I think you had the first Joburg Primi Piatti.
Correct.
You then realized that, hold on a second, restauranting is a bit of a mug's game if you want to become wealthy over a period of time.
Well, my lifelong dream has been to be a hotelier. I mean, I remember when I was a child going to Sol's hotels with my mum and dad. And I didn't come from a privileged background. For us, it was very much a privilege going once or twice a year to have breakfast and staring and looking at what he had created. That was like a lifelong dream of mine to become a hotelier. And when I was a restaurateur, I quickly realized that to manage 3-4 restaurants on your own is a hell of a job, and a hell of a task if you don't have the proper support structure. And you're going to have to work a long time to build up the required capital to get into a hotel. So I ventured off and did the romantic African thing of chasing mining deals around Africa.
And how romantic was that?
Very. I mean, I enjoyed it. I love Africa. I'm African, no matter which way you look at it. I mean, and I sat with my wife one day and I said, no, if one of these pipe dreams do come true, what's the first thing that I would do? And it was always, I want to open a hotel.
I'm assuming one of the pipe dreams did come true then?
Well, it was a combination of, I mean, I was also involved in upstream oil, and, you know, we're looking at $20, $30 oil. You quickly look and you say, well, what is it that you want to do? Making money is one thing, but this truly is a passion of mine. So it was logical for me to get back, and it was logical for me to get back the way we're doing it now.
I still don't know how you made your money. So you went into the African continent.
Let's put it this way.
You dabbled in mining and oil.
I'm going to try and make my money. I mean, my wife and myself are fully invested into this. I managed to raise capital from some investors who've decided to reinvest back into Africa, in South Africa, which is fantastic.
How do you find them? Because finding investors are like hen's teeth. So what do you promise investors?
This is not a hard sell. I'm not exactly selling ice in Eskimo. This is a very easy sell. And
are they local investors? Are they private investors? Are they institutional?
It's a combination. It's all of the above. I mean, we also got, as I said to you earlier, we've got a bit of gearing in there else that would be impossible. So we're all in, as they say in poker. But we're all in South Africa and in Cape Town, more importantly.
Is poker a problem?
No.
Okay, just checking, because I mean, how much of a gambler are you really?
You know, the way I look at it is, you know, in the face of what's going on in South Africa, you know, this is a calculated risk. People are saying to me, are you sure you want to be doing this? I said, hell yes. There's nowhere else I'd rather be doing this. And there's nowhere better to be doing this. We voted #1 city by the Telegraph, Continental Traveller voting it best place, destination. So I think we're on the rise. I mean, the stats are showing you're on the rise.
Where are you positioning yourself here? Because there is the global backpackers market, and South Africa is just too far away, really, for any great sustainable backpacking travel in the next 20 years, potentially. There's a middle market, that's South Africa, that travels and visits, but that's not who you're targeting. You're going to have people who be prepared to pay $200 for a drink. And then that's your market, I guess.
Well, the whole ethos of SLC, Shimmy Luxury Collection, is something that I've long believed in. I believe in, you know, you get haute couture and you get pret-a-porter. And for us, it's about accessible luxury. It's making luxury accessible. And what are we selling? We're not just selling beds, and we're not just selling booze, we're selling an experience. So anybody's our customer, I would say, without being that Walmart-y kind of mentality. we're taking luxury to everyday people and saying this is aspirational, but it's achievable.
Okay, achievable, but upper middle class achievable. I mean, what are you selling a bed for? $2,000 a night, $3,000 a night?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, our winter rate will be sort of 1.4.
But that's the Protea Hotel across the road does that price.
Correct. So exactly what we stand for. We basically, through value engineering and being close to the ground, are able to take a
That's two bits of jargon in 3 seconds. Value engineering and being close to the ground. How do you do a Protea rate and sell it as luxury?
Well, we are vertically integrated.
You're rolling it out.
I'm on a roll today. So we have the in-house capability. We're a single source solution company. So not only am I able to find the opportunity, we are able to do the feasibility, the conceptualization. I'm able to build through my own factories most of the FF&E that goes into it.
The FF&E. Now
the
you
furniture, fixtures and equipment. But I'm saying we're able to cut corners on costs, but still provide a first world product. And a first-class product, more importantly.
Now, I mean, and you've then got to get occupancies up, and you've got to maintain occupancies north of 70 or 80% to make any real money. Are you achieving that?
Well, at the moment, we are still busy renovating. So,
okay,
but to give you an idea how confident we are, without sounding cocky, because it's not what we are. We did mock-up rooms with what we envisaged to be, and I can truly say there's no product like that in the current. There's nothing on offer currently in the market. And then we brought in the tour operators to have a look, and then you gauge it. And already now, December, January, pretty much looking at 100% occupancy, which is not difficult to do in Cape Town. But looking forward, I mean, we're getting inquiries now because we also have 1,000 person capacity in our conference. We're booking out conferences now already, potentially just on conceptual drawings. We're selling out. I mean, Cape Town is on fire, and I think we're coming in at the right time.
So occupancy is December, January, February, easy sell. You get 100% occupancy, then you amortize that over 12 months, and suddenly your occupancies are down to 20%. How do you create, in a massively competitive market? I mean, just behind that hospital over there is the Mount Nelson. The Table Bay is just on this side. You are in a very competitive, quite hard-fought space in a world where Airbnb, there's some 10,000 Airbnbs in the space as well. That's hard.
The good news is that there's a shortfall of rooms at the moment. In the next 3 years, there's about 2,000 rooms coming on stream, but there's a shortfall for the next 2 years, and we're coming in sweet spot on that. But not just relying on that. I mean, you've got to think about longevity. You cannot just rely on that surplus or shortfall, for that matter. I think our offering is unique. If you look at what we stand for, what we offer, I mean, if you compare to some of the names you said earlier on, which is stale corporate brands, you know, we've got a nightclub, which is on black coffee. I've got Bertus Besson, who's one of the top 10 chefs in the country, doing my top restaurant. You know, my all-day dining is pitched at taking on whatever's happening in Breer Street. You know, in our rooms, we've gone for something that I think would appeal to everybody. It's luxury, but again, it's accessible.
And it's in a market, and it's a ferociously competitive market, but also conferencing in this town is extraordinary. You go to the CTICC almost any day of the week, and there's no parking. The venues are all busy, and they slice and dice it, and they cut it. You've got 1,000 capacity.
We're able to do 1,000 people.
I mean, that's very significant.
That's a big USP, which has not been taken advantage of prior to us coming on board, which we plan on hammering home hard.
Sun International has just bailed, I think, on Nigeria. A lot of the big groups who, with big budgets and deep pockets, are struggling to make it work. And this is a continent where growth rates are beginning to slow, especially the oil-producing countries, the traditional targets where guys like you might go.
Listen, East Africa for me is not something.
East Africa is
not somewhere I'd quickly go to, based on a lot of that offshore LNG not coming on stream. I think a lot of the development was based on that coming online. West Africa, Nigeria. You know, if you look at Abuja is screaming for a good hotel. There's one Hilton, which basically everybody stays at, which is not a really differentiate. It's got no differentiating factor. But before we even get to West Africa, I think there's a lot more I want to do in South Africa, and there's a lot we can do in Johannesburg, and then we'll take it from there. I don't want to give away too much.
No, of course not. I mean, Joburg's an interesting place as well. It's a transit point for so many visitors to South Africa. It's a useful hub. Is it really a place that you want to play in the tourism market?
Listen, I don't think we can call ourselves a big contender in South Africa going to Southern Africa and abroad if you don't really have a strong foothold here. So I would think it would be important for us from a brand point of view to get a landmark property somewhere.
Zambia, Zim?
Yeah, all in the cards.
Namibia?
We're not going to say no. For now, I just want to open up the Ritz, and I don't want to overshoot it. I really, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
What's your target date for opening up the Ritz, for putting on the Ritz?
The good news, we'll be operational by the 1st of December.
Now, okay, I've dealt with builders in the last couple of months. If my guy had done your job, 1st of December.
We've got the good news. When we came along, when most of the hard nitty-gritty work was done, the people who had the lease or the management company prior to us, they started gutting the Ritz, but they didn't really take the old dame down to the core like we did. And on a best practice basis, we went in there and said, okay, what do we need to do to comply on international standards? So we sort of doubled up in the short period of time. We gutted it even more, and we've been running parallel processes. So I don't think we made the announcement on Sunday, we started building today, and we're opening on December. We took a massive leap of faith. We, quite risky, but a calculated risk. We ran a parallel process whilst doing our due diligence by redirecting the final fit.
How patient are your investors to get a return on these big investments? Because they are big investments.
We've got, from our point of view, or ROI point of view, we've run our stress tests. It takes 1,000 days for any hotel to stabilize, and that's a traditional model. By adding a little bit more of spice to our F&B, we're able to get higher returns in a shorter period of time. So they trust me. Let's put it this way. I think it's not just my vision. It's a team effort. I've been able to build around me a fantastic management team. So I wouldn't say only me, but we know what we're doing, and let's say hopefully we'll pay off soon enough.
And I can't wait to see it. I really can't, because I think it's going to be a nice addition to a Cape Town landscape.
She's
and I
a
think
landmark.
And it's landmark property, beautiful properties in Cape Town, and they're not being looked after nearly well enough. Nicky van der Walt is the entrepreneur who is behind a whole range of landmark properties in Cape Town. Got his eyes very firmly next on Joburg. And then the rest of the world, or certainly the rest of the continent, certainly appears to be his oyster. Exciting times in tourism. Tough on the currency front, but we know these things are volatile and go all over the place. But foreign tourists, we are seeing numbers recover since the debacle of last year's visa regulations. Things looking up for South African tourism. Of course, tourism, a crucial job creator in this economy as well. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a very good evening. Good night.